something different today and just kind of go through what I've read. And I was listening to the last part of the song, and although we know it, it really seemed apropos in what we just read. Open my heart, illumine me. Open my heart, illumine me. So when I was reading through this, I was thinking, okay, let's examine a little bit about these people that, you know, you go away, we're so busy, we've got the noise of the traffic, we've got our very busy lives. Do we actually take the time to notice the beauty of the trees and the ocean and the rivers? And yes, when we get there, we feel this pull. Did you know that mediums in particular, intuitive, sensitives, have this very strong pull to come to the edge? It's like lifting the veil when you have that differences in the environment between the land and the water. So we're more than others pulled to this environment. And as we get pulled closer to the waters and the land, and we look at that and we breathe and we say, oh, you know, now I have space, now I have space. And do we take the time to think, how did the water come together? What brought the water together? What makes up the land? What's under the ocean? What feeds them? And how was that ever possible in the beginning? And the land and what's under here, what feeds the insects, that feeds the next one, that feeds the next one. So we have this circle of life going on all around us. And if we put our feet on the ground, we can hear the vibrations of life, we can hear the vibrations of creation. And another thing that we sometimes don't take the time to do is, I know I got in a lot of trouble when I was in my physics class, because I would ask my teachers, what creates the smell within the stems of the flower, within the stamens of the flower? What creates the different smells? Where did that come from? And I was not given an answer. I don't think there is an answer, because we all kind of know that, you know, it's not something that we can physically put our focus on, but the chemistry, of course, is creation. And with that creation, the same with our emotions, something that we can't put our finger on. We know that that creation within us is the soul. And within that soul, have we looked deeper into our soul? Because we have so much in that soul that we need that quiet time to ask for the illumination of the Spirit, to ask for the illumination so that we can do our duty here. And what they're attaining to also, I believe, this lady, when she was telling you that if you go into seances and you go into mediums and you see this absolutely wonderful phenomena, and some people really get addicted to it. You know, they want readings over and over again. They've had the revelation. And the revelation, of course, is that there's an intelligence. There's an intelligence guiding all this physical phenomena, all this mediumship. And it's the discarnate spirit that still lives. So what do we do with that information? We want to hear more and more? Or do we want to take that and say, oh my goodness, we still live. This is a temporary place. We know it's temporary. But how much of do we internalize that? And now that we know that those in the spirit world, we're going to have reunion, what do we do with that here? That what we do in our thought, word, and deed is what makes our place in the next world, makes our starting place. Hey, everybody gets in. So if people tell you you're going to a holding sale or you're going down or up, that's not, you know, just say, oh, that's a very nice thought. Everybody gets in. Nobody gets stuck. Nobody has to be rescued. Everybody gets in. Once you pass, that cord is cut and we're in the beautiful new energy in that beautiful world of Etheria, or the Summerland, or the spirit world, whatever you want to call it. We go home, you know, we go home. So when we take that time to be a little bit in that remembrance, we're so much more. We're so much more than we can even imagine. And your soul has a lot to tell you, believe me. So if you get into that place of illumination, and it can open up, and you can see so much. And you can see so much, sometimes it can drive you crazy. I know, especially for sensitives, we have to kind of tone it down a bit. You know, you go to your fast food restaurant, you have your sandwich. You're told to be mindful. And then you think, oh, there's a bun that holds this sandwich. So in this bun, we've got the wheat, and who had to grow the wheat, and where did the wheat come from, and who had to put the wheat together, who ground the wheat, who baked the bread. And that's even before you get to the egg and the chicken and the cheese. So we get to this mindfulness because there's so much more that we just don't pay attention to. And this is what I really feel this lady wants to attain to, that if you don't pay attention to what you're seeing and you just look at the surface wonderfulness of it and don't dig below the surface. And there's another writer, and I can't remember his name now, and he talks about going into the museum, right? He goes into the museum and there's one light on a picture, but then someone turns on the light and all the pictures and all the beauty, it's right there in front of you. So sometimes we have to turn on the light. We have to be illumined just to see the beautifulness and the wonderfulness of creation, because it's absolutely marvelous, absolutely awe and breathtaking if we pay attention. When she talks about one step higher to which we speak, that every seeker after spiritual truth to the altar of their own life. So spiritualism, again, is that to the analytical thinker. It's really open to the skeptics. It's really open to those to explore, because we don't tell anybody what to believe. You use your inquiring mind and what makes sense to you at any given time. Might not make sense in the future. You know, Gordon Higginson, if I'm talking about somebody you don't know, so Gordon Higginson was a fabulous medium. As actually people put him on a pedestal. And he was one of the teachers of Simon James of the retreat I went to. And he says, I'm sure that Gordon's laughing his face off at this. He says, you know, he was one for a pastry, a diabetes. And he says, to be put on a pedestal, I'm sure he's just standing there laughing at all these people. But Gordon Higginson, everybody, he was marvelous. But they would go and they'd say, oh, I really practiced this mechanics that you gave me for my mediumship. And he goes, what mechanics? Well, you told me to do this, this, and this. He says, oh, that was last week. He says, we've changed it, right? So what I'm saying is, to the altar of your own life and what means in your life, pay attention with your inquiring mind. What makes sense? Don't listen and follow like sheep. No matter, and we all know that. I mean, we all have this intelligence that we're able to use. And so what we're actually asking people to do, not asking them, is inviting you to explore that part within you that may be more. That may be more than what's just sitting here now. And what you're going to do with that. And can you understand why the spirit world would plead with you to leave the childish toys and enter into the rich possessions of spirit? And it is only by cultivating this sympathy between yourself and the spirit. And I thought, why would I want sympathy with my spirit? Like, I don't have anything to be sorry for. Like, why am I sorry for my spirit? And of course, that was my not being illumined. So I went and I looked up sympathy. And there is two parts to sympathy. One is to be sorry for somebody and feel for them. But the second one is to harmonize, to be in harmony with your spirit. And this is where, you know, those language of the past, we really have to look into it, because it is a little bit more. So if we're in harmony with the spirit, when we're in our greatest need and when we're in our greatest grief, or there's something going terribly wrong, and we sit and we go into that place because we have all the answers, and we can be ministered to. And the spirit, you're your minister. You're your minister. You're your church. It's here. This is where you'll get your answers if you pay attention. And I've seen some new faces, so I'm going to repeat a story that I've said before, because it bears repeating, especially today. And I know that when my father passed away, there was, I grieved. I was a big baby. You couldn't talk to me for a week. You know, I think we grieve. I don't feel that we grieve harder. But I know that for me, that's my grieving, is just, I go and I grieve really hard and then it's done. So I really wanted to start my readings again, so I went into my reading room. And there was CD that Tony Stockwell made, and it's taken an astral trip to meet your loved ones in the spirit world. I thought, well, I'm going to play that. So I played it, and I went to the spirit world, and I saw my father. He looked like he was 40 in his glory. Now, we have in Mundare, Alberta, what we call the homestead, which is, I don't know, hundreds of acres of wheat. And my father was standing in the homestead, in the wheat, and in amongst the wheat was his mother, his father, his sister, my cousins, like the family was there. And he had his hands on his hips, and he looked fabulous. And he said, "Are you satisfied?" He says, "I'm absolutely fine. Go and live your life, because soon you'll be with us." And I thought, oh, okay, I get it. So then I came back and I thought, oh, and even in a medium, I thought, oh, my mind needed that. My brain needed that to console me, because our minds are very powerful, our brains are very powerful. And I just took it that was a very nice thing, but there was really nothing to it. And I was having Reverend Anna Beveridge, for you that know her, and a few other people over for an afternoon meal. I think Suzanne was there, if I recall. And Anna came and she said, they didn't know this story, they didn't know what I had just done before they got there. And Anna had come, she says, "Glenda, when I got out of my shower," she says, "I had this thing, this a port sitting on my kitchen table. I don't know how I got there, but I was told to take it to you, and they couldn't give it to you because they needed to do it this way." I said, "Okay," and it was in a white envelope, and we're all sitting around the table. I'm okay, so I rip the thing off and dump it out, and there's a shaft of wheat. And isn't that beautiful? Did I really go astral to the spirit world? I don't believe I did. I believe my mind did that. But I believe the intelligence in the other world knew of my need to be reaffirmed. And once in a while, we all need that reaffirmation, don't we? And it sits in my room today. It's very special to me. So very quickly, I'm not going to tell this other whole story, but my husband was very involved in hospice, and people know that the waterbug and ladybug story and the dragonflies were the ones that were books given to children to explain death of adults, or death. And when we were in our Tahiti cruise, there was a dragonfly on our 11th floor balcony in the middle of the ocean, just hovering there for the longest time. And my father was singing in my ear, and of course he wasn't sick when I left home. So he was singing in my ear the Streets of Laredo, which we often sang together. And it came to the part that I'm a young cowboy and I know I must die. And at that moment I looked at Ben and I said, "Are you getting all this?" He goes, he's used to it now. It's 40 years we've been married. He says, "Yes, I am." I said, "I have to call home." And I said, "Please tell me when Father passed." I said, "Because he's here telling me and giving me signs." And then he said, "He passed a week ago, but we didn't want to spoil your trip." So the dragonfly was quite significant, and that wasn't my father, was not the dragonfly. Please don't believe that. But is there a manipulation of energy? I believe that absolutely, without a doubt. And I think why I'm saying that part is yesterday, on my window, this huge dragonfly came in and he was banging on my window, on the inside of the window to get out. I have all my screens are shut. I'm going, oh my goodness, like, because you tend to forget. You tend to forget. And it kept banging on the window, and then I remembered. I thought, oh, how beautiful. How on earth did you get in here? Like, everything is closed. How did you get in here? And at the same time, my mother called me, and she says, "Glenda," she says, "this dragonfly just came to me and sat right beside me." And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? And then I noticed that the front door was open. So I thought, oh my. Now, was it actually a manipulation of energy? Or was it because the front door is open? I don't know. Something to ponder that there may be more. Thank you for listening.